Warm welcome, you're watching India Today. It's been a big victory for the LGBTQ community after the Supreme Court decriminalizes gay sex in India. The 5-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, unanimously legalized gay sex, ending the 157-year-old colonial law. The Chief Justice of India said the right to love anyone is an individual's choice and the LGBT community has the right like any. Reading out the historic judgment, the Chief Justice of the country also said that popular sentiments cannot dictate the constitutional rights. The Supreme Court has also ordered to relook into all pending cases related to Section 377, making it clear that there is no place for homophobia in India. Meanwhile, right-wing group RSS backed Supreme Court's judgment on 377, however, refused to accept same-sex relations, believing it to be against Indian ethos.
Section 377 has been held to be unconstitutional if two consenting adults have sex in private. Whatever type of sex is not the business of the state. So if two consenting adults have sex of any type in private, that there is consent and it is in private, it will not be an offense under 377. So 377 has been held to be, to that extent, unconstitutional.
I am very pleased to welcome the Supreme Court's decision today. What we have found ourselves doing in this country is that we have allowed the government to interfere in the private lives of people, to discriminate against people on the basis of their sexual orientation, and to infringe on the rights and freedoms that our Constitution has long upheld. The Supreme Court today has stood up for equality of treatment of all our citizens. It has stood up for the dignity of individuals irrespective of their personal preferences.
It's a very momentous judgment. The Supreme Court has, consistent with constitutional morality and constitutional jurisprudence, decriminalized homosexuality in various forms. It has built its judgment on the pillars of equality, liberty, and human dignity. After the Puttaswamy judgment and after the Nalsa judgment, consistent with the dignitarian ethos of the Indian Constitution.
This particular provision, which was in law books for over a century, was tending to have its own moral and ethical aspect. The very nomenclature of Section 377, if one reads the penal code, is unnatural offences. Now that would mean that if unnatural act is not an offence, now since the Supreme Court has struck it down, that would mean that man would fight with nature. And whenever a man has fought with nature, the consequences have been disastrous. Now, religiously, ethically, morally, this may not be permissible.
The trigger for this landmark judgment was a writ petition filed against IPC Section 377 that criminalizes same-sex relationships. The petition, popularly known as the Navte Johar versus the Union of India, led the apex court today to revisit the constitutionality of the law, leading to this historic day. Meet the men and women who challenged the archaic Article 377. Here, mind you, we are only talking about the petitioners in this case who made this change happen, not those who fought the good fight for years. We're going to talk about them later on during the course of the show. But number one is Navte Johar, who's 56 years old. He filed a writ petition against Section 377 that criminalizes same-sex relationships after the apex court's 2013 ruling that dismissed the 2009 Delhi High Court verdict, saying that the issue concerned only a minuscule fraction of the country's population. The second petitioner is Sunil Mehra. He's 60 years old, senior journalist. Sunil joined his partner of 2 decades. Navtej and Sunil are partners in filing this writ petition in the Supreme Court. Joining them is Ritu Dalmia. She's 45 years old, from Delhi. Celebrity chef Ritu Dalmia, who identifies herself openly as a lesbian, filed the petition when the Supreme Court reinstated Section 377 in 2013. The next is 44-year-old Aisha Kapoor. As a businesswoman associated with the food and hospitality industry, Aisha Kapoor too joined forces to decriminalize Section 377. Lastly, let's get you Aman Nath. Aman Nath is 65. a well-known hotelier and a restaurateur. Amarnath joined the others in the curative petition in 2013. And lastly, Keshav Suri, 33 years old, the youngest out of the group. Suri is the executive director of the Lalit Suri Hospitality Group, which owns the Lalit Group of Hotels. Suri has been at the forefront of increasing the public space of the LGBTQ community. He filed a writ petition in the Supreme Court in April challenging Section 377. So currently, of course, these were the men and women. Because of them is how Section 377 was. All right, let's take you through now the timeline of Section 377, the twists and turns that have gone in decades.
The case against 377 in India was first made in 1994 by AIDS Bhedbhav Virodhi Andolan, India's first AIDS activist movement based out of New Delhi. Then in 2001, Naz Foundation filed a lawsuit in Delhi High Court seeking legalization of homosexual intercourse between consenting adults. Both the petitions were dismissed by the court. Naz Foundation then knocked on the doors of the Supreme Court, which directed the Delhi High Court to reconsider the case on its merits. In 2009, the case came up before a two-judge bench of then Chief Justice A.P. Shah and Justice S. Muralidhar. On July 2, 2009, the judges delivered a judgment which drew a collective gasp from all those present in the courtroom. Not only did they deem Section 377 as an impediment to public health, they tied their judgment to Articles 21, 14 and 15 of the Indian Constitution, deeming that all citizens of the country had the rights to equality, liberty, dignity and to life. The judgment did not strike Section 377 down completely. The section was declared unconstitutional insofar it criminalized consensual sexual acts of adults in private. A nationwide celebration erupted. Soon after the Delhi High Court reading down Section 377, a flurry of appeals were filed in the Supreme Court challenging the High Court order. These appeals were from private individuals as well as several religious bodies. Some of the petitioners were Suresh Kumar Kaushal, Krantikari Manuvadi Morcha, BP Singhal, Trust God Ministries, Apostolic Churches Alliance, Utkal Christian Council, All India Muslim Personal Law Board, SK Tijarawala Baba Ramdev, and Joint Action Council, Kannur.
All the religious.
On 11th of December 2013, responding to the appeals and deliberating for several months, the Supreme Court of India upheld the constitutionality of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code. Not only did the court go so far as to say that it was the job of the legislature to change laws, it went on to call the queer community a minuscule minority because only 200 people had ever been prosecuted under Section 377. For a community which had just begun coming out of the closet, this was a massive setback. India went back to becoming part of the 79 countries where being gay is illegal. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Nigeria, Sudan and Iran. A review petition was filed in the Supreme Court soon after the verdict of 2013. It was dismissed. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor brought up a private member's bill in Parliament twice. The motion was defeated on both occasions.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move for leave to introduce a bill further to amend the Indian Penal Code 1860.
That leave be granted to introduce the bill. Those in favor may say aye.
Aye.
Those against may say no.
It was only in 2016 that the Supreme Court admitted a curative petition to relook its 2013 judgment. This itself was a historic moment because in India, 99% of curative petitions have been dismissed and the remaining are never heard in an open court.
The fact that individuals actually also filed petitions, which made it so much more powerful, because now you finally had people who were gays saying that, look, our lives are being affected because of this archaic law, right? So it's really made a lot of difference.
Then in July 2017, after 4 days of marathon hearing on this case, the Constitutional Bench reserved its judgment, saying they will examine whether it is permissible under constitutional morality to criminalize sexual acts performed by consenting adults. In August 2017, the Supreme Court ruled privacy as a fundamental right, adding sexual orientation is an essential attribute of privacy, raising the hopes of those campaigning against Section 377.
All right, we're going to go into a quick break. When we return, we take you through what has been India's fight and the men and women who fought this good fight over decades, the history of the LGBT movement. Stay with us.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.